Hi there. Welcome to Apple World. I was in Miami, and afterward I figured out that my cash was… I would rather not blabber about that, yet we should simply say I understand what sort of cash I have. Sadly, I just have $2. Wendy Williams is standing up in the wake of upsetting reports that she has no cash left following an unpleasant fight with Wells Fargo Bank. Furthermore, fans are presently saying that what's befalling Wendy is monetary maltreatment, like what Britney went through during her conservatorship. It doesn't make any difference regardless of whether you like Wendy Williams or whether you think she merits this. How they're treating her is something they could do to anybody. What's more, it's being legitimized before your eyes. The appointed authority who took care of Wendy Williams separate from her intervention with her ex, Kevin Tracker, has as of late uncovered a few stunning insights regarding what is happening. Also, obviously, Wendy has lost her whole fortune. The news comes soon after Wendy got down on Wells Fargo and her previous business administrator for conspiring to put her under monetary conservatorship. Also, fans are saying this is very concerning since, in the event that this can happen to somebody rich and well-known, it can most likely happen to any other person. A long time ago, Wells Fargo froze Wendy's resources and guaranteed she was a debilitated individual who required a gatekeeper. What's more, notwithstanding Wendy's repeated attempts to demonstrate she can deal with her own cash, Wells Fargo denied her access to her own assets. So is this monetary maltreatment? And is there anything Wendy can do to get her cash back? Or are these large banks just excessively strong? We should separate them. One, Wells Fargo sued to acquire monetary conservatorship over her by calling her insane, and they won. Do you all not understand how insane that is? Furthermore, what's the significance here for every other person who manages an account with any of these enormous organizations? Wendy Williams' circumstances concerning her funds keep on deteriorating, as late reports demonstrate. She has lost her whole fortune. Also, Wendy herself has, as of late, guaranteed she's down to $2. Wells Fargo's freezing of her ledgers has left Wendy unfit to get to even her excess assets, as the bank has mentioned a court-appointed monetary watchman for her. Yet, to more likely grasp what is happening, we should go over some settings first. So you most likely realize that Wendy has wrestled with substance use and different medical conditions for a long time. Back in October 2017, Wendy ignited worries for her well-being when she swooned on her syndicated program. What's more, however, a few reports guarantee she had experienced a stroke. Wendy later credited the episode to her drying out and her tight Halloween ensemble. That is the very thing we do consistently. So it was loads of tomfoolery. We should get everything rolling. Our most memorable stroke, gracious. Then, in February 2018, Wendy discovered she had been determined to have Graves' illness, an immune system problem that causes various side effects and, without treatment, can prompt lethal complications. Furthermore, on top of every one of these well-being battles, Wendy likewise confronted an excruciating disclosure of her significant other, Kevin Tracker's, very long-term disloyalty with his escort, Sharina, which at last prompted their separation in October 2020. In the meantime, Wendy's fight with substance abuse took a turn in 2019 when she discovered she was remaining in a clear-headed house. Nonetheless, after Wendy figured out Kevin had been fathering a youngster with Sharina, she went out and experienced a frightening backslide. Adding to her burdens, Wendy likewise found that Kevin had utilized her cash to help Serena's undertakings, and, surprisingly, bought a house for her close to Wendy's manor in New Jersey. This woodland Barbie, all things considered. You know, he was stealing cash. She's in the front seat of my Rolls Royce, a Ferrari. What's more, super. What's more, I read about it in the online journals and the sensationalist newspapers. The location of this spot that he had bought to impart to this boondocks is 9 miles from my home in Livingston. Also, get this, after Wendy registered herself with recovery once more, Kevin had the dauntlessness to go on Instagram Live and protect his courtesan, Sharina. Furthermore, he also assumed praise for the outcome of the Wendy Williams show. You know, I was unable to do it without the charitable assistance of my sovereign, Sharina Hudson, and her family. I have everyone's loved ones. Let's get straight to the point. Everyone's loved ones. Furthermore, I understand that I need to swing the blade for my entire family, since there are many individuals who are attempting to take advantage of what I have done for my loved ones. Meanwhile, Wendy's profession confronted one more mishap when she was supplanted on her famous syndicated program by Sherry Shepherd, bringing about the end of Wendy's $10 million yearly compensation. In any case, we as a whole realize Wendy would have returned quickly from this large number of misfortunes since, whether you adore her or disdain her, there are many individuals who might uphold her in the event that she chose to send off another show. Wendy herself really uncovered recently that she had begun chipping away at new ventures after she left recovery, yet unfortunately, her endeavors were impeded by her bank, Wells Fargo. While Wendy was in her battle to beat her compulsion and adapt to her separation, Wells Fargo chose to freeze every last bit of her records and guaranteed she was a crippled individual requiring a monetary watchman. The bank requested the New York High Court delegate a brief gatekeeper or evaluator to manage Wendy's monetary issues to guarantee Williams' undertakings are by and large appropriately taken care of. Notwithstanding, Wendy later blamed her previous monetary counselor, Lori Schiller, for erroneously depicting her as crippled at Wells Fargo. Furthermore, Wendy's legal counselor asserted that Wendy had ended Schiller because of his unfortunate behavior and that, in retribution, Schiller had distorted Wendy's circumstances before the bank. Wendy's legal counselor looked for a brief limiting request against Wells Fargo, charging obstruction with Wendy's admission of her monetary resources and explanations. Wendy likewise freely got down on Lori Schiller and Wells Fargo and blamed them for planning to put her under monetary conservatorship. Be that as it may, notwithstanding Wendy's opposition, the court decided for Wells Fargo and delegated lawyer Sabrina Morrissey as Wendy's monetary watchman, right away giving Morrissey the power to decide all installments from Wendy's fortune. Besides the fact that this present circumstance passed on to Wendy with no admittance to her leftover assets, her monetary watchman promptly cut off monetary help to Wendy's lone kid, Kevin Jr., prompting his ousting from his Miami loft. Kevin Jr. additionally as of late uncovered in an elite meeting with The Sun that Wendy's supervisory crew urged her to drink deliberately, and afterward utilized the open door while she was in recovery to put her under monetary guardianship. "Whoever has been recruited is exploiting somebody who needs to improve," Kevin Jr. said. He likewise shared that Wendy's group forced her to sign agreements either during or following her recovery, adding that these individuals essentially had Wendy in a position where she was consenting to a ton that she shouldn't have. "When I heard that she was consenting to stuff around her recovery, I thought, indeed, all right, they are making use of it," Kevin added, additionally proposing that Wendy's group empowered her drinking propensity. "In the event that they aren't giving it, they are certainly empowering a sort of character and giving her the go-ahead to drink," Kevin said. Once more, we as a whole realize that Wendy's show wasn't everybody's favorite, and Wendy wasn't generally the most benevolent to others. Yet we can likewise concur that assuming you buckle down for your cash, you ought to have the opportunity to spend it however you need to. What's more, no bank ought to have the ability to pronounce you insane without verification. Likewise, upsetting is that this is by all accounts an example in Hollywood. And it seems that these enormous banks and Hollywood controllers frequently plot together to exploit VIPs. Exactly the same thing happened to Britney Lances, and her overseers obliterated her intellectually by giving her high dosages of lithium, and then blamed her psychological state so as to restrict her from getting to her cash. Furthermore, more recently, Kanye West went through something almost identical when he was exposed by JP Morgan Chase and began freely standing up for how VIPs in Hollywood are controlled. All right, so they froze. They put a $75 million lion on 4 of my records, and afterward they said, "You owe a great deal of charges." It took me like 6 hours to figure out how much a ton was. They said indeed around $50 million. Presently, I'm going to various CFOs and saying, "All right, so could this be tax avoidance?" Since I'm clearly he is not the most monetarily educated individual on earth. I was only a youngster, fundamentally. Like when you become renowned, you stop developing. By then, I had become well known at age 24, and I had controllers around. I had my mother around various things, and it was generally similar to you go starting with one controller, then on to the next overseer to the following controller. This present circumstance with Wendy and Wells Fargo has incited conversations via virtual entertainment about the power elements banks hold over confidential residents. And fans are saying, we as a whole should be stressed since, supposing that a bank has this much command over big names. Imagine How they can treat most of us, one Twitter client wrote. Individuals ought to totally be worried about what's the deal with Wells Fargo and Wendy Williams. Wendy went to Wells Fargo and said, "I'm shutting down my records since I believe you're conspiring with my business administrator to take them from me." Rather than researching the cases, Wells Fargo sued to acquire monetary conservatorship over her by calling her insane, and one that is effing insane. Furthermore, "What's the significance here until the end of us?" another fan added, "and you don't need to be rich for them to lawfully exploit you monetarily. They've done this to old and likely handicapped individuals, and those monetary counselors are only hoodlums."